My boy Hawks and Tokoyami getting the spotlight. This was a good chapter. Now, I already knew that Tokoyami would be kind of the focus in this chapter thanks to the events of the last chapter of My Hero Academia, but seeing Hawks and seeing the connection on how Tokoyami came up with the move Black Fallen Angel, it's funny, but also it's inspiring. So, I'm just gonna say that this chapter, it's relatively short. It's actually one of the most simple chapters in a while for My Hero Academia. I don't really believe this video is going to be as long as it normally is, around like 20 or so minutes. I actually think this might just be over maybe 11 or 12 minutes, so who knows. But the point is, though, is that this chapter, even though it was relatively short and straight to the point, there was some things going on here that does set up for the future of the series. Number one, Hawks and his legacy, what he's doing with Tokoyami, and also why he came to Tokoyami in the first place. We come to find out that the reason why Hawks actually even decided to get Tokoyami in the first place, to have him intern underneath him, was because Tokoyami would have some knowledge of the League of Villains, which makes sense. When you put all the pieces together, and, you know, we as the readers of the series know, Hawks is doing like an undercover op, being like a double agent, he's needing to get information on the League of Villains, and he's having to kind of play the villain, so he needs to know as much information as possible about the League of Villains, how they move, because, you know, it's obvious that they're not going to give all of the information that he wants. For instance, you know, the League of Villains, because they don't truly trust him completely. And even if they did, he still might not know all the experiences from an outsider's perspective. So that's why he went to Tokoyami. And also on top of that, he wanted to talk with Tokoyami because he was wasting a lot of potential. There was potential he's wasting, and he had a big future ahead of him to where he could become a very good hero. So, I mean, there's a lot of little factors here that Hawks threw in, and the reason why he decided to pick Tokoyami in the first place. Now, also because he looks like a bird, too, which makes sense. I mean, Hawks is literally a man with wings. He literally looks like a freaking angel. He has the whole phoenix or maybe fallen angel theme going on. So, I mean, obviously, Tokoyami looking like a freaking bird, that throws it all in together. You're like, yeah, okay, so, I mean, he wants to know more about the League of Villains. Tokoyami looks like a bird. And then on top of that, he's wasting a lot of potential and has a lot of room to grow. So, all these thrown in, Hawks took an interest in him. Now, this honestly makes me respect Hawks with how brutally honest he was. I mean, he didn't really try to lie to Tokoyami. He was like, look, 50% of the reason why I got you in the first place is because I wanted to, you know, see how you guys reacted with the League of Villains. 20% because you're a bird, and 30% wasted potential. Yes, the 50%'s higher on his current job, which makes sense. That's a big job he's having to do, but it does show that he's a caring person. And he even says, though, he doesn't really think too hard about the next generation after him. But I feel like the way the series is gearing this all up, it's gearing up Tokoyami to carry on the legacy of Hawks. And the reason why I say that is because Hawks is in a really bad spot. He's having to lie to his idol, which is Endeavor. We've already seen how this has kind of, you know, affected him to where he feels really upset, sad, that he's having to lie to someone that, you know, inspired him to be like he is. And, you know, after lying to this man, and then on top of that, having to play like a villain, and then play a hero villain back and forth, it's gonna, you know, be heavy on your mind. And there's a lot of potential that Hawks might eventually fall from grace and become someone that is actually a villain. He might not be a hero anymore if he sees a lot of dark things, or he sees how Hero Society fails or something. You know, that could be eventually the case. But I feel like the way the series is gearing up is that whatever happens to Hawks, like if he falls from grace, like let's say he becomes a villain, or if he, let's say, dies thanks to, you know, what he's trying to do with the League of Villains, I feel like Tokoyami will carry on his legacy. That's what it looks like to me, because, you know, with the whole generation of, like, you know, for the next generation, it's like set up talk with, you know, Tokoyami taking the place of Hawks one day in the future. Now, speaking of which, I do like the fact that the move that Tokoyami came up with, it sounds so cool. It sounds like a great move. Like, I think if you've been with me for a while, you know I love Tokoyami, but you know I love Fallen Angels. Fallen Angels are something that's always interested me. I've always loved that when it comes to mythology and stuff, and folklore. It's something that's cool to me. And hearing an attack name called Fallen Black Angel, my interest was piqued. I was like, whoa, that's an interesting move. And I mean, Tokoyami already is a cool character, so I'm kind of curious to see what his attack could be. And then we actually get to see it. And this man, legit, just to describe the technique, Dark Shadow wraps his arms around him and floats. So, it's not as graceful as I thought it was. Because when I was thinking of Black Fallen Angel, I was thinking of Tokoyami literally, sprouting out wings out of his back and, being able to fly kind of similar to Hawks. But that was not the case. It's literally like, hey, Dark Shadow, grab hold of me, hold me up in the sky. That's literally what Tokoyami told Dark Shadow to do, which is hilarious, by the way, because it fits with Tokoyami's personality, because he is a Chunin. And so, obviously, he would over-exaggerate things, and I'm just like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. So, that alone made me have a good laugh, but it also opens the door up for Tokoyami's potential, what he could actually do with Dark Shadow from this point going forward. I never really put a lot of thought into how Dark Shadow worked, and how Tokoyami could, apply it as flight. I mean, it makes sense when you think about it. It's always been kind of in our face, but we just really never realized it, which I think is a very smart move by Horikoshi-sensei, the writer of My Hero Academia, because it didn't feel like it came out of nowhere. Because when you think about Dark Shadow's potential, what it can do, it can always float. Dark Shadow is always floating. It's never walking. Dark Shadow does not walk. We've even seen Dark Shadow drag Tokoyami. We've seen how Tokoyami can sometimes be pulled by Dark Shadow. This has happened in like Season 2 or Season 1 of the series, and in Season 3 when, Dark Shadow took control and, nighttime hit. I mean, we know that Dark Shadow can kind of pull Tokoyami around like it's nothing, and what's to say that, Dark Shadow couldn't grab Tokoyami? I mean, Dark Shadow's strong, so if it picked up Tokoyami, what would technically happen? Would Dark Shadow continue to float or not? So it's always been there. It's never been something that's kind of like not been in our face. It just, we never really thought too much about it. So I do wonder, when he does get better at manipulating Dark Shadow, being able to control Dark Shadow, I wonder if he's going to be able to actually legit have, like, his positioning of holding himself with Dark Shadow a little bit differently. He might be able to use something with his, complete cover of darkness, how, Dark Shadow covers him completely. He might be able to do something like that. Maybe Dark Shadow could somehow grab, like, let's say, his costume, whatever, and flap some form of wings. Now, that would be interesting if that could happen for, My Hero Academia and Tokoyami as a character, if he was able to, let's say, somehow, completely encompass himself in Dark Shadow, but somehow still sprout wings. There's a lot of potential there. I feel like it's not just, Dark Shadow grabbing him. Now, we also got to think about the outfit as well, the costume. See, now looking at Tokoyami's costume, it's definitely going to be very important for him utilizing his abilities to the utmost effectiveness, because we see how his cape plays a big part in allowing Dark Shadow to continuously hold him. Remember, Dark Shadow gets stronger in darkness, but weaker when there's a lot of light. For instance, if Aoyama was to shine his light at Dark Shadow, Dark Shadow would be very weak, and then he wouldn't be able to do much, and then, obviously Tokoyami wouldn't be able to fly. But if there's a lot of shadow, then he could. So I do feel like that with the whole cape thing, most likely Tokoyami is going to design something with a costume one day in the future, or Horikoshi as the artist, actually. He's going to design a costume for Tokoyami to where Dark Shadow could remain inside of the outfit, but while giving flight to Tokoyami. Like, what if there's, like, some form of armor or something, and, like, let's say Dark Shadow was able to grab Tokoyami inside of the armor or the costume and hold him up, and you wouldn't be able to see the hands at all. For instance, as we see in the form in this, chapter, Tokoyami is being held by Dark Shadow, and it's very obvious what's going on there. And so if someone was to, let's say, shine light on that part of Dark Shadow, it would still hurt Dark Shadow somewhat. So I feel like the best way to utilize this technique is somehow being able to hide Dark Shadow inside of a hero costume. That would be the best way to go about this. So, yeah, that's probably what's going to happen here. There's going to probably be a time when he gets a costume, we're not going to be able to even see the holding up of Tokoyami from Dark Shadow. Both characters were trying to outsmart each other. Like, we had Shihai and then Tokoyami. Hopefully I'm pronouncing Shihai's name right, but basically both of the characters, they were trying to outsmart each other. And at first, it seemed like, the one from Class B, he was outsmarting Tokoyami. He's like, I've been putting a mental trap up that, most likely you all will think I'm just after Tokoyami because, I'm a Chunin and, I want to, be molded by the dark or whatever. And so that's what we all assumed. And I have to say, I like how that was done because it got all of our attention off what was really going on and what maybe his true objective would be. And that was capturing someone, getting rid of Aoyama, which makes a lot of sense from his perspective, because when it comes to Class B, the most dangerous entity on that team at the moment for him alone, for Shihai, is Aoyama. Because with light, he can put a light on darkness, and, darkness can go away, which in turn would completely negate his quirk. So, obviously, if they got rid of Aoyama, then they could do whatever they want. Basically, he would be an unstoppable force. So that's why Aoyama was targeted first. But I also like the mental game that Tokoyami made as well. He's like, yeah, you fought that, but then, I think you were thinking this. And then he comes in and chases after him, and we see what he does at the end. So, cool stuff. I like the setup with Tokoyami and Shihai, and how they were both trying to outsmart each other, showcasing their intelligence. And, technically, once again, that Class A and Class B, they're very similar in strength, but they have their own way of applying the strength to their team. Now, speaking of which, even though everything goes correct for Tokoyami at the end, it's still bad news for Class A, because Mushroom Girl, we don't really know how her quirk really works. It's not really been truly explained at all, and Momo gets like a mushroom that grows on her nose at the end, which is kind of scary because we don't really know what it can do. We don't know if it saps the life force out of her. We don't know if it can cripple her, poison her. We really don't know what the girl is really capable of. We just know that she's like some form of witch, basically. And I'm kind of curious if this is truly the end of Momo or not. I do believe that, like I said already in my last, chapter review, that Class A might lose this one. It would just make a lot of sense to put Kendo on the spotlight, really showcase Class B. Out of all of them, I just think that this would be the best time for Class A to lose, but I could be wrong there. But yeah, Kendo is once again a step ahead, showcasing that she's very intelligent, and she is applying her knowledge she learned from fighting the League of Villains a long time ago at the beginning of Season 3. So yeah, a lot of setup, good chapter, decent chapter, actually. I love seeing my boy Hawks again, and, we need more of Tokoyami. But I think we're not going to get a lot of Tokoyami next chapter. I think there's going to be a lot more focus maybe on Momo next chapter, because, with the whole thing with the Mushroom Girl and Momo now being, like, attacked with a mushroom on her nose, I feel like she's going to have something to do, maybe somehow or some way to get rid of the mushroom off of her. I really don't know. But the point is I feel like we're probably going to shift from Tokoyami as much, like the full focus on him, and shift maybe to the other characters a part of Class A. Who knows? But I think I want to end this video here. Like I said, it's a simple chapter, but an enjoyable chapter nonetheless. I love you guys. You have a wonderful, wonderful day or night wherever you live. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like. And if you want to get notified for whenever I upload a video, please click the bell icon down below. And with that, Chibi out.